Welcome, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Southern Comfort Podcast. I'm your boy, Big Rich.
Kevin Harris.
And we are the boys of the Bison, Maroon Bison. We're going to follow up with episode part 2 with our special guest, Representative Ruwa Romman.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And just to recap from our last episode, we kind of went through sort of your makeup, your origin story of, who you are, being this Arab, Palestinian, Muslim, young girl at age 8, growing up in Forsyth County, Georgia, right? Like, folks don't understand that is the dynamics there. It is not Atlanta. It is not Metro Atlanta, right? The numbers of minorities significantly drop when you get in Forsyth. And it's, like you said, it's that way for a reason, right?
Violently so.
Right. And of course, over the years now, things have changed, right? But sometimes they still remain the same.
Yeah. So right there beneath the surface.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a graduate of Oglethorpe University, which is in Atlanta, Brookhaven, North Fulton County.
Will forever be Atlanta.
Okay.
Not doing it.
You went on to graduate school at Georgetown. You met your husband. Give your husband a shout out.
Oh yeah, I met him in undergrad, and he's just the greatest support system I have.
Yeah. Went on to, you got your start in politics by volunteering for a U.S. Senate race here in Georgia, the Michelle 9 campaign, which I was political director for. The way you got involved was for someone tabling at your college and said, hey, this may interest you, sign up. And you did. And it's put you on this path of where you are now. And that's where we want to jump back into the story. So you leave Georgetown, you start your career with Deloitte. And what are you doing for Deloitte? Explain to people what Deloitte is, and then...
Yeah, great question. It's difficult to explain these companies, right? And honestly, sometimes it really does feel like they are just a very fancy recruitment organization, frankly, because you get hired, and then your job is to find somebody to employ you with it, like a project.
Yeah.
And so I was in their government and public sector practice, and at the time, and this was because I didn't want to work for the Trump administration directly, but I knew I wanted to learn government administration. That was that was like a goal of mine. And why I went to grad school, I wanted to learn quantitative analysis, be able to actually look at, I heard this thing is a problem from somebody anecdotally. How do I do the research? How do I actually figure out how big of a problem it is? How pervasive? Who does it touch? Who does it not touch? And so coming out of grad school, and you've got like student loans, and so I was like, great, like I'm going to work for them for a little bit, pay down my student loans, and learn what I want to learn, including, by the way, management practices that we can take back to campaigns, to nonprofits, to these C4 and PAC spaces. And so went into it, and it was so funny because they really wanted, like, one of the most quote unquote available projects was CBP, Customs and Border Patrol. I was like, guys, I just came from an organization that sued them. Like, that was half of our job, was suing them because they, anyone who looked like me or had a beard was being stopped at the border. I remember going to Mexico with there was like a program called Geopolitics at Oglethorpe, and we went to observe elections in Mexico. I was the only person with the 4 S's on their boarding pass, which meant, oh, you're being taken for increased questioning. Shocking to no one. And so, and to be clear, like at Deloitte, I had a clearance. Like I was cleared to work. Like they do, there's a background check, then there's like a background to the back. I mean, it's a whole thing. And so I was like, absolutely not. And they were like, well, you're going to be let go. And I said, okay, great. But this was around the time of the 2020 census. So I got to work like for the Census Bureau, and actually it was amazing because you get to learn a lot about how census data runs everything, everything, all the research, figuring out where to open a hospital, polling, right? When you do polling data, it relies on census research. Like people don't realize it really is the gold standard of data. We've been doing it since the establishment of our country. And so it was great. I was actually more in their comms department to just respond to mis and disinformation that was coming out about the census. Like people thought if you fill it out, you get your stimulus check at the time. Some people thought that if you fill it out, you could be at risk of deportation or the government can come get you. So there was a lot of sort of it was actually really cool learning how a nationwide event can be managed, and at the same time learning how to communicate to people about that nationwide event in a way that cuts through the noise and the mis and disinformation.
And the impacts of it, right?
Right.
Like people don't realize
Yeah.
that census is what determines, that's how federal funding formulas are calculated,
Yep.
right? That's how funding comes into your community. So you need people to participate in it, and most people don't really get that.
You can literally draw a straight line
Yes.
from the 2020 census and 100 people not filling it out in New York and Jamal Bowman losing his seat.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Like, it is right there.
And millions, sometimes millions of dollars, right, in funding that didn't go to that district under the federal formulas because this is what the census says, how many people live there. So it's a hard thing. And when I was at the Black Caucus, we had to deal with that as well. And it was tricky, right? You know, on this one, like the Trump administration, that first term, they weren't as emboldened as they are now.
Yep.
And we were able to stop a lot of bad things from happening with how that census was administered.
Yeah.
But now, it's not lost on me how much more difficult that would be now, and people having to contend with some of the same challenge.
And now we have the challenge of, Orange Cheeto trying to change up how the census is done now, even more so, right? He's trying to invoke a midterm census, basically, which is
and wanted to do it then. He wanted a citizenship question on the census. Then he wanted to change how the formulas were done. He wanted to loosen up the restrictions. So you have some communities where you have a high like Native American population, right? He wanted to make it easier for you to count them for the purposes of the census, so that the money comes into the state, but then you can kind of exclude them when it comes to sending the money out. He wanted to help loosen all of that up and make it easier to do. More restrictions around suspicions around whether or not someone is documented or not, whether or not we count those people. He knows now, and then people say it's going to hurt Democratic districts, but that's not, okay, maybe, but the truth is it really just hurts people. And a lot of red states would get hurt. Like where I live in Florida would get screwed out of a lot of money if we did that. Texas, screwed out of a lot of money. They think that, no, it's just going to hurt Houston or it's just going to hurt Miami. No, the whole state is going to get screwed. And, they manipulate these folks in these red states to go for that stuff. But anyway.
Let's get back on
geek tangent. So sorry.
No,
it really is the coolest thing, to be clear. Like I really underestimate the census. So like that's my plug. But did other projects. Some of them were just, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about government administration. You really learn. There's the headlines and the members of Congress and the names that and then there's the like literally millions of government workers that are doing so much with so little. And it makes me sad that we don't know how to articulate that, and we don't know how to restore. To me personally, my belief in government is that we should, as legislators, government officials, admins, the quote unquote, some people like to call it the deep state, but the reality is I want government to give you the #1 customer service experience, right? Like, to me, that's what government is about. It's not about the headlines you read about whatever legislation came forward. It's, can you get the help you need when you need it most? And then just leave people alone. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of ironic. It's like, I know it sounds really contradictory, but my belief in government is give you the best service possible and leave you alone. So,
that's what you pay for. And when you have roles like that, you see that there's so much that the government does a lot of things really, really well. And that doesn't get spotlighted enough.
So now, how long were you with Deloitte?
So this is the funny part. So we're now at the height of the pandemic. My husband and I are both the oldest. And we said, you know what? Let's move back. Ironically, we actually almost closed on a house out in Maryland the day that the emergency declaration came down about the pandemic. And so we were like, this is a sign we really shouldn't do this. And then we were like, well, let's move back. Maybe we can find a place to rent. So my husband knew this like one agent. She was helping us out. And then she goes, because we were like, what's a good place to rent? She goes, if you're even thinking about buying and could buy in the next 6 months, buy now instead. Like right before the market went. Like, we got so lucky. And so we picked Duluth because it's equidistant from his family in Lilburn, my family in Cumming. That's it. Didn't know who the state rep was. Didn't know anything. The one thing I did say was, we told the people, we said, either we close by October 2nd, because that was the voter registration deadline, or we close in January. Like, I'm not breaking my lease and spending all this money and then not being allowed to vote. Like, we're not. And the agent thought I was joking. I was like, no. As someone who knows voter laws in the state and how strict they are about registration, these are your options. Because I wasn't, to us, we might as well just wait for our lease to end. So that was like a really funny moment. But yeah, we moved back and I was working remotely. Actually, Deloitte was flying me back for an emergency project every week for like 6 months, which was the irony of all of this. And they redraw the maps. So we had the 2020 election, right? We could talk about the Volunteer Hub too, but we have the 2020 election, 2021. Now we have new maps. I'm in a new open district. Didn't know that. I was like still fighting with Bonnie Rich as quote unquote her constituent, along with my neighbor. And my friend goes, hey, her name is Shafina Kabani. She's the new executive director of Georgia Muslim Voter Project. She came after Aisha. She goes, we're doing a training for people interested in running for office. I go, no. She goes, no, but listen, it's on a Zoom call. We just need butts and seats. And we've been doing this for so long. We'd love your feedback to see what we're missing. I said, cool, September, whatever. I get on this Zoom call. They did a great job, covered a lot of the basics, it's as much as you possibly can in a day. And don't hear much of it. And then she goes, hey, there's a reporter that wants to talk to people that came to this. And I said, okay, like, why should women be involved? Why should minority women be involved? Like, why does politics matter? The typical average. And I'm pretty sure she and I talked about me running. And I said, absolutely not. Because there's a huge difference between you working a campaign, you volunteering for a campaign, and your name on that campaign.
Right.
Whole world of difference. And I was uninterested. And so we chat in September 2021. I don't hear from her. December 23rd, 2021, an article comes out in the AJC, and the first sentence is, Ruwa Romman is entertaining a run for office. And the reason I know the day is my husband and I's anniversary. And when I say all hell broke loose and I haven't known peace since, I really mean it. Like, that was the day my life changed completely. My first leak. And to be fair to the reporter, it'd been months since we chatted. Like, she met me at a candidate training. It's not like it was malicious. But my community got a hold of it. And when you have people coming, I could not fundraise to save my life. So when you have somebody coming to you and saying, I fundraise for nonprofits, I will help you fundraise. When I say, well, I don't know if people are going to come out and canvass, and you have people signing up preemptively saying, I'm committing every Sunday to you between now and May. I mean, when you have people saying that to you, after all the work that we've been doing, I'm like, okay. So I did ask Deloitte. I said, could I run for and hold public office? They put in writing that yes. And then 2 weeks before I won, they were like, actually, you can't stay with us anymore. And ironically, it's because now I know they won the Pathways program that we're wasting a ton of money on. So I've never opened, I never thought I'd experience a day where I open up a headline, go, thank God I got, I was let go. But they were just like, we don't want to risk our work in the state and blah, blah. And honestly, I think they thought I couldn't win. Like, I genuinely thought it was one of those,
when they said yes.
I got permission from compliance. Because that was one of the, do I do this or not? One of them was, can I keep my job?
Yeah.
And so I kept, to be clear, I was working full time as I was running for office. But that was my journey. I got out of it what I wanted, which is I learned amazing management skills. We managed a campaign. We raised almost $250,000 my first time running, had a primary and a general, a primary where a member of Congress endorsed against me, and we still won. And these are small races, but people don't vote, especially in 2022 when people were really burned out post 2020 and 2021. I mean, we would have canvases bigger than most people, canvas launches. And so it was really, I got to run my dream campaign. I'm really thankful for it.
Yeah.
So when did the Volunteer Hub?
So the Volunteer Hub in 2020. So to be clear, one of the things I did for Deloitte was policy analysis. I actually told them that we were going to flip the state and get 2 senators, and they all laughed at me. And so when we came back from vacation, I was like, so how about them apples? But the Volunteer Hub came about because in 2020, our 2 senators went to a runoff, right?
Yeah.
That is something that most people did not expect and were very unprepared for. And our people were burned out. They were tired. They'd been working for so long. These campaigns are intense, as you know. And so me and my friend Munir co-founded this thing called the Georgia Volunteer Hub. The idea was that if you're interested in volunteering in Georgia, while these organizations in the campaign were getting their act together, we would take anyone who wants and train them so that when the campaigns were ready, when these organizations were ready, you got trained, ready to go volunteers that you didn't have to worry about in terms of intake and whatever. We literally took in and trained thousands of volunteers. And it was mostly, Zoom, because this was during COVID. So we actually also told a lot of out-of-state people, do not come here because it's not safe and people aren't going to open the doors for you. To be clear, we did have a field program that was running through the different campaigns, but it just didn't make sense for people to actually come here because we didn't have housing either. And so that's how the Georgia Volunteer Hub happened. It was a labor of love. It wasn't like an official PAC or anything like that. It was just like a one moment desperately needed. And it was really cool to see.
What was you guys' organizing philosophy?
We'll take everybody, but we want to make sure that everyone who leaves more skilled than they came.
Nice.
And like we asked people, like, do you speak any other languages, right? So we also did a lot of in-language outreach as well.
So take us back to your decision that sparked you to run for office.
It wasn't. I was literally bullied. Me, it's not even a decision.
Well, no. No, I mean, but you still had to take the step.
Yeah. I mean, and to be clear, like I think, and I really meant it when I said that when you have people coming to you saying, I commit to doing X, Y, Z in this grueling work that is politics.
Yeah.
It really moved me, right? This was a moment of, I have a responsibility to do this. And so, and you know, at the time things were working out work-wise and everything. So that was when I said, you know what, what's the worst that can happen, right? We mobilize people, we train them up. Because again, my philosophy is that there's no such thing as a loss.
Right.
Even if I lost, like, okay, so what?
Right.
So, your moment you decide to run, what was that conversation like with your parents?
Yeah, my parents didn't really like get what state rep was. They were trying to figure out, like, is it Congress? And I think to some extent they still don't fully get it. And not in like a they don't care, but it's kind of like they kind of see what I do, and I have a very unique experience as a legislator compared to a lot of my peers, and it's weird. But you know, like my mom, for example, even if she didn't understand what a canvas was or didn't like wasn't in all the details, she'd cook for us. On the day she would cook for us, we'd double our volunteer rate. No joke. Like if we said my mom was cooking that day, we would go from like maybe 20 volunteers to like 40 and 50.
Listen, one of my biggest philosophies, if you feed them,
they will come.
They will come.
And it was awesome because it created this like sense of
community.
And I mean, you know, not the safest decision, but it was at my house. We'd launch from my house, and it was just like it really was my favorite campaign. And so, and also my mom was like, why would you like, why the headache? Like, why do this to yourself? Like, you've got a really good life. Why are you messing it up? So a lot of times, and we've had these conversations over and over of like, why do you keep doing this? And again, the one thing that got to me, and I think really, and I said, people are making decisions and they can be making different decisions. And so I'm done begging people to make the right decision. Like I'm done having that intermediary that's like me begging them, like, please, like I'll give them, like I'm somebody who is head in the clouds, but in terms of implementation is very pragmatic and will lay everything out, right? And I will lay it out for people, and I will give them the polling, and I will tell them about what I'm hearing from people, and I will give them the trade-offs and like, yeah, you might get this bit of a headache, but here's everything you get in return. And it has been the greatest frustration of my life how often I have felt like Cassandra, you know, like the idea that like, and people would say things to me, like they joke, they'd be like, well, you know, if you're right, you'll be like the oracle of politics. But I don't care about it's not, to me, being right is actually not good because the things I'm worried about are happening. And so, yeah, so that was actually what really like pushed me over the edge was I was uninterested in hoping that someone will come along and fix things.
Right.
So what was that conversation like with your husband?
It was really interesting because he was just kind of like, yeah, I knew this day was coming. Like he was unsurprised. He was so, he was deeply unsurprised. He was just like, yeah, I was wondering like when this would happen. And you know, for him, every time his main concern has always been my safety, every time. And I will say I'm not very good at this because when I worked for Care Georgia, we were getting death threats. Like my threshold for safety is actually very different than most people's. What will motivate me to actually respond to something, that threshold is very different than most normal people. And so he knows like that this is just something he has to like, you know, stay on my case about.
So talk to us about the district.
I love my district.
What is the makeup? Who was in the seat before?
So it was part Beth Moore, part Bonnie Rich, and it was redrawn into like one big district essentially. I say I have one of the kindest districts genuinely in the state, and I mean that because if you look at our open door rate, higher than most people's, genuinely. Like that's not something you can do as a volunteer, right? It's just who's going to open the door and who's not, and who's friendly, and people invite us in, and even the people who are skeptical or might not like me or might not like my politics. Genuinely one of the kindest districts in the state. We will go knock doors at apartment buildings where the stairs are falling apart.
Yeah.
And giant McMansions. So like economically, very varied.
Run the gamut.
It's about 30% black.
Yeah.
A little under 30% white, 17% Asian, like 10% Hispanic, and then everybody else. So it's like as representative of the state as you can get. And ironically, in Gwinnett, I actually have one of the smallest Arab and Muslim populations in Gwinnett County. Even though there is a concentration of Muslims and Arabs there, I actually don't have comparatively, compared to some other state house districts, I actually don't have a lot.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest challenge campaigning?
Oh gosh, it was the amount of people that were really excited about me and would say, "There's no way you're going to win." Deeply, because I can understand their cynicism. It is Georgia, my district. I do not, like, who are you and where do you come from? And I'm unknown. And it's funny because I would have donors. I would say, "I'll give you a little something, but there's no way you're going to win." Right? Like I would say it was like at least 50% of my conversations.
Yeah.
What was really funny is last year, I didn't have a primary opponent. I did have a general. So my general was kind of a joke the first time around. This time was more serious because the governor endorsed against me. And the expectation was because of everything happening around like Palestine, they were like, oh, we can get her down to 54% and then knock her down this year is the thinking. They dropped $250,000 against me. We bucked national trends, ended 2 points higher than my first run at 59%.
Wow.
And it was just my philosophy about politics is that, yes, there are some people you're never going to win.
Yeah.
But there are some people you can, and it's worth trying for every single one of them. And so that was like that moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think what you exhibited there is one of the things that I know I often tell people that are thinking about a run. If you're afraid, if you think the worst thing that could happen is you could lose, then don't do it.
Correct.
Because that fear will keep you from doing all of the things that you need to do to actually win.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I hear when you say that. You were just like, okay, all right, well, governor's against me. They pumped a lot of money in here.
Yeah. Also, I don't like complaining unless I can prove the case.
Yeah.
So for me, even though I knew it was technically a safe seat and I could take it easy and life was already hard enough, I was like, but I want to prove the point I'm trying to make about what good communication looks like, what good outreach looks like, what a good ground game looks like. And if you look at Gwinnett County, it's like red arrows moving right. There's like one blue arrow. It's in my district.
In your district. Yeah. Nice.
So now you are, well, talk to us about election night.
Whew, the first one was really, really intense because I didn't know what pulling tape was. So my campaign manager was like, let's go pull tape. And I'm like, no, we'll wait for, she's like, no, we're going to go pull tape because you're going to wait forever if you don't.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to do the math ourselves.
Yeah.
And be able to say, we're calling it. There's literally no other votes left for my primary opponent to win this election. And our margin, actually, what we did is we did like 2/3 of our campaign resources door knocking was your traditional targeting of primary voters, all that good stuff. But then we actually bought a list of voters that were young, Black, Asian, like a mix.
Yeah.
That was our margin.
Yeah.
That was literally our margin for the primary.
Yeah.
And it worked. It didn't, I wasn't saying that I didn't care about our primary voters. What I was saying was that there could be more out there. And what we set up could help in the general. Because this was a new district, so we didn't know what this was going to look like.
Yeah.
There's a big transient population, so voter registration didn't always translate into votes. And so, I remember like my dad was really nervous. My favorite thing is that my dad is not a very political person, but, is exposed to all the conspiracy theories. So when I told him, oh, we're going to go pull tape, he goes, isn't the party going to do that for you? I'm like, my man. Oh, my sweet man.
No.
And that literally like shook him because he finally started to see there is no like overlord of a party, right? Like it's like this like, disparate sort of pieces that come together. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was the same night we went to someone's party that night. Oh, no, that was in the general. But either way, like for us, it's like we start out at my house. Every election night's been this way. Start at my house, do our party, and then kind of go and be with everybody else. But it was a lot of fun.
So now you are going into the general. What strategy changed, or there was no change in strategy?
We just expanded our list. Right?
Because you ran from the start.
Correct.
A strategy that looked like the district and met people where they are.
Yeah.
Which, we say that all the time, and people treat this sometimes like it's rocket science, and it really isn't. Sometimes the simplest answer is the answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we started out by introducing myself to people, right? Like when we would go knock doors, we'd say like, I'm volunteering for Ruwa. Here's who she is. What's top of mind for you today?
That's right.
So we actually built our policy page. We literally built our policy page off of what people told. And we said that on our policy page. We said, coming soon, we're going to spend, if you want to canvas, but we wanted to make sure that the policy page actually represented the people that we were talking to and what mattered to them the most. And that became, and it has continued to be our policy page, by the way. Got to update some of it. But it was funny. My campaign manager this time around was updating our lit, and she was like, I literally have a video of you or a bill or something of you doing working on every single one of these things.
Yeah.
We could literally go to voters and say, at bare minimum, even if I didn't succeed, because they didn't expect perfection, they didn't expect full success. They just expected me to say, I said I was going to work on these things, and I did.
To represent them. And I've seen studies on this too. Like one of the most effective methods of communication is when it could be companies or elected officials, when you do the little report cards or the report backs, and you literally just give people the visual of this is what I said I would do, and you could still say in progress. Check it off or whatever the case may be. Like, it is a very effective communication tactic. And again, it sounds so simple, right? And it is, right? It is that simple. Like, oh my God, people are happy because I went and did what I told them I was going to do. Huh.
Yeah. We try to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. We really don't.
You really don't have to.
Again, it just shows like the simplicity that it takes if you just have proper planning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now you are the first elected Muslim and Palestinian woman to ever serve in the state legislature. I mean, might be the
first Palestinian in the state's history and much of the Southeast.
Yeah.
And wait, you said most of the Southeast or all of the Southeast?
Most of it. Sam Rasul is up in Virginia.
Okay, I was going to ask you, were there any more in the South? Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So how do you carry that responsibility?
That was the biggest hindrance to me running. So when that article came out, my grandfather had just passed away. I had deleted all my social media. I was going to run a marathon. My husband now says I'm not allowed to talk about running marathons because it always gets me in trouble. But I had, I was going to run, literally and metaphorically run from my grief. Like I had made that decision. And I knew, like, you kind of know when you're doing something stupid. And when this family friend sat me down, I said, this is an open wound and there's no way that I could ever advocate on this issue as an elected official. I can't do it. It's just not going to happen. And he goes, what are you talking about? A state ledge. You're going to be doing like healthcare and voting rights and the things that you really care about. And I go, okay, right? Naively. 9 months after I was inaugurated, October 7th happened. And I remember very clearly, we then had a special session. And I thought, I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a resignation letter. I didn't want the attention. Like for me, which in hindsight is like, wow, naive of me, but I wanted to be the workhorse. Like I wanted to do the work. I didn't because there's different models to legislating. There's different models to being an elected official. We need all models to be clear. I'm not discounting someone's model over another. My model was I wanted to be the workhorse. I wanted to be the one to build the relationships and get good policy passed. That kind of got really taken away from me. And I remember one day like sitting in the chamber and like really thinking about this. And I tell people all the time, even on your darkest days, sometimes you got to lean into spite. Like I was like, I'm not letting my opposition outlast me on this one. Like it just can't happen. And so you kind of have to sit with it and sit with yourself. But it was, again, as state representatives, we don't get staff. We get one admin we share between 8 people. So anybody that I had, I fundraised for before session. So it was like me and this one staffer managing all the media requests, managing all the craziness. We also were getting constantly requests for help evacuating people from Gaza. And every day I was getting news from people of like, we just lost so-and-so. We just lost so-and-so. I mean, it was daily. I know people that have lost literally over 100 family members, aunts, cousins, uncles, entire family lines gone. So I was like carrying that and to be clear, still doing my job, still trying to make EMS an essential service. I actually passed a bill out of the House my first term doing that, running for re-election, passed the bill. And it was truly one of the hardest things because the part of my job that I really care about is twofold. One, I'm in a room most people don't get to be in. So I have a responsibility to show up at my best. And I have to like negotiate on behalf of people, which by the way means I show up asking for the full loaf. Some people feel like they need to show up asking for the compromise. I actually disagree with that. I think you show up and ask for the full loaf and get as much as you can. So showing up in that regard and talking to my colleagues, even if I disagree with them. The other piece is messaging effectively. And I was being asked to message on something that was so painful in every way, because I've only ever gone in 2019 once in my whole life. I was one of the few people in my family to ever go back. And I remember in 2019 being like, I can't wait to bring my grandfather. And then COVID happened and then he died. And all of a sudden it was just like, just chaos, right? And you know, say everything I got when I was younger, I got now I was elected. That part doesn't actually, I know people think it bothers me. It actually genuinely doesn't. I don't care if you call me a terrorist. Like, I know what I'm not, and that says more about you than it says about me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was carrying the grief, that because you are carrying the grief of a whole community that just, that was really tough.
So talk about that mental space. Like, what are you doing to support yourself in that aspect to kind of keep you centered almost the best you can?
So I will say I'm somebody who really cares about like self-care and setting boundaries. So I was one of those people that would like bring my lunch as much as I could because I wanted to be able to eat well, and like I would try to get as much sleep and work out. For a whole year, I didn't sleep, eat, or work out properly. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that I did a good job. It was just every day was an emergency. Every day was something. Every day you tried. And that was all I could do. Every day was something. Every day was like, and you just got to keep trying. And as much as I wish I could say, like, I did a great, no, I was not sleeping, I was not eating, and I was not, working out. So do not recommend doing that.
So now you are serving in the legislature under, we are the minority party. Republican-controlled legislator. What is that like day to day, working across the aisle? The frustrations that you have inside your own party.
Right.
The victories that you want to get, getting things done, being in the minority. Like talk about that aspect.
I think our job as the minority is to stop as many bad bills as humanly possible, and the ones that are passing, make them less bad, and the ones and the good ones actually making better. To me, that's the spectrum. For me, I will vote on a bill if it's like neutral to good. If it's bad, even a little bad, I'm voting no 9 times out of 10. And people can get mad at me all they want. I've found that I've actually been able to talk to voters in a way that's really effective. And I've gone on conservative radio shows, and they're like, that makes total sense to me. even the more like quote unquote controversial stuff. And so to me, I will always have a conversation. I try to read, like, I will literally read every bill that I vote on as much as humanly possible. Sine die things change because they start, shoving things in there. So you'll see me vote no on things that might look good on sine die because I'm like, y'all didn't give us time to read this bill. I'm not doing this.
I'm not.
And so, that's sort of my approach to it. We talk about like the internal dynamics and frustrations, is that this is, I think, generational as much as it is anything else, is that there are still people operating as if it is the politics of 10 years ago, forget 20 years ago, where you could just reason with people. And to some extent, to be clear, you still can. There are some things you can be reasonable about, and you should try to reason, and you should try to negotiate. But the trade-offs that we make for the crumbs that we get just don't seem worth it to me, personally. To me, it's just not worth giving them any wins. Like, unless we are getting something tangible and as large as the losses they made us go through, what are we negotiating on? And this is, and I want to be clear, symbolism is very important. Naming things is very important. History is very important. But I'm tired of us negotiating for the symbolism as people's material conditions are worsening day in and day out. That is to me and it's a hard balance. I'm young, like I'm younger than most people in the chamber. And so I'm like the person who's like, come on guys, like, and everyone else is like, we're doing the best we can. And it's tough. It's a tough balance.
So, well, why don't we talk about that with Schumer, right? How he tries to. But even Biden, right? Biden still thought that he was in the Senate from 1980. 90, and that's the way he tried to.
To his credit,
in Obama.
Look, everyone knows about.
There for a second.
I've been very clear about my feelings about like Joe Biden, right? But like at the same time, the man did pass a lot of really good legislation. His problem was that he did not communicate it as president.
Right. Well, that's what we're going to say. Biden adjusted. Right. He was like, okay, this is not my good old boy Strom Thurmond here.
Right.
Oh, no.
This is a different thing. So he said that, and people were, but that was one of those inflection points where people are like, my boy, it's a different world. Like you can't just know. Okay.
His comms guy on Georgia Gang called me a loser. I was like one of his like losers of the week. I was like, I'm so proud. I was like, thank you.
But with Obama, like the thing that I was saying, like he was just barely in the Senate, but it was this notion that we could reach out to them and that we could work. Like he had to course correct too very early. Like it doesn't matter what you say or what you try to do. You just have to win. Yep. Right. There is no working together. You just got to get a bigger number than them and you just got to push it through.
Correct.
And to your point, like you talk about here, the state legislature, you know, those who are still there are holding on back to that time when Democrats were in power.
Yeah.
And that was so long ago. I believe that Michael Jackson probably had a #1 hit. That's how long ago.
That's not the Michael I was just about to say, but
Michael Jordan probably got his last show.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Michael
and also remember, these are people we spend like a significant amount of time with a quarter of the year every year.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming there's also like personal relationships.
Sure.
And to be clear, I tell people all the time, it's harder to say no to friends. Right. And so, but I'm like, get better friends. Or be braver. Like those are your two options.
My friends know all the time.
I just, hey, listen, you're talking. Yeah. Same.
So, you know, again, you're not wrong.
No.
But so how do you identify yourself politically? Would you say you are a progressive?
Yeah.
Personally, like define that. What do you personally feel like a progressive?
You know, it's funny and it makes me sad because I actually don't. When I first a reporter asked me about this, and I said, I actually don't know how to define myself because to me, these things seem like common sense. Like my aunt got better healthcare for free in Jordan than we do here. To me, it is not extreme to be like everyone should have healthcare and it shouldn't be profit driven. You know, that doesn't seem extreme to me. To me, it's not extreme that every child should have access to a high quality and diverse education. Right? To me, it's not. Extreme to say wages should be lived. If you work 40 hours a week, you should afford a roof over your head and afford your bills.
Yep.
To me, these are not It is not extreme to say we shouldn't let hospitals close. But we get defined as left and progressives because I think we just refuse the fake negotiations that people put us through when we know where the general public sits.
I made a note here. Healthcare should not be profit driven. I like that. I just, you know, I like it.
Why should like 30 cents of every dollar I spend on my healthcare go to some shareholder who couldn't care less if I died?
Right.
Or PBMs or any of that stuff.
What is the misconception that you think Southerners have of being progressive? Like, because in a sense, the civil rights movement came out of the South, and that's pretty much.
So you know what's really funny? Everyone Zoran's a friend of mine, and I was really in this campaign for a lot of reasons, but I remember telling people this is how you move it, like strategically, just logistically. I'm not talking about policies. I'm talking about logistics. This is how you run a good campaign. And everyone was like, Georgia's not New York, and I was like, yes, I know. Thank you. I grew up here. I appreciate your comparison. Yeah. But the thing for me is I actually think that places like Georgia are more progressive than New York when you consider the circumstances and what we have to do to get to where we are.
Yeah.
Like, to me, we have done, thinking about our history, like from the establishment of this colony to it being a state, from slavery on end, the idea that slavery is an institution, right, used to exist. And it still manifests in different ways. That's why, for example, we need to close the loophole that allows for basically slavery by the prison population. There's a lot of things we need to do there. And to me, the things that were changed and the way that things have moved, I have a hard time believing that we are just some backward state that can't get anywhere.
Yeah, no, and it's to that point though about like New York, they will say, well, Georgia's not New York. True, there are nuances, right, and differences, but a lot of what you saw in that race as it applies to the coalitions that we need to tap into, right, to be successful in these races, right, there actually is a lot that you can take from what happened in a place like New York, because a lot of times what happens, not just in the South, but just broadly with the party, we were just talking about notions of sort of the past, but there's this past that there's this voter in the middle who's this sort of like moderate who kind of goes back and forth that we just got to persuade them and bring them back. Whereas I think that that era is over. You have 4 or 5 times that just sitting over here that just aren't activated and engaged at all.
Right.
But to the extent they are, would never vote for that side,
Correct.
but aren't really sure why or if they should vote for you. And so we spend all this time obsessing over that little pie of what we think is the center voter, right? That's gone. And, you know, I don't have to code it. Like they mean white. They mean like suburban white. But you have all these diverse folks that if you just move them and mobilize them, like what you saw in New York, you brought that to a Georgia. That is a part of our coalition and how we win.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the last thing I'll say on that too is like, there are federal races, right? And there are state races, right? You look at our turnout in a federal race, if you can get somewhere similar to that or somewhere in the middle between what happens in a state election and federal election, we would win more state races. And the margins, right, are not those sort of people of yesteryear that the party still wants to go back and try to obsess over. It's people that look like you, right? It's people who are Spanish speakers and stuff like that. And what happened in New York is they found a lot of folks who were diverse. He was very, very smart and methodical. He built this coalition. And it wasn't just that it was a diverse coalition because of the different colors and economic circumstances of it. It was diverse because these were not people who typically voted in those primaries, right? And the same conditions exist in the South, especially in a state like Georgia. And so, yes, it's great that we have Warnock and Ossoff. That's wonderful. But to be locked out everywhere else doesn't make any sense.
We should have the governor's mansion, and we can flip the state house, and we can do that next year.
Absolutely.
So talk about your relationship with Mamdani.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of Muslim legislators. There's not a lot of there's actually 4 Palestinian state legislators. If you count Rashida, it's 5. So 4 of us and plus her is 5. And not a lot of Muslims either. And so you know, as the genocide was escalating, I get a random call from a number, don't know who it is. And he's like, hey, my name is Zoran, I'm an assemblyman. I was thinking of doing a hunger strike outside the White House. And I'm thinking, don't know who you are, and I can't leave the state right now because we were going into special session. To be clear, like I, you know, was not a thing, but we had kept in touch. And so when we finally met almost a year, like we kept in touch, and then a year later, he goes, I'm thinking of running for mayor of New York. And this was close to the November elections. And I said, I'm tired of people running for moral victories and some messaging, you know, BS that's going to get us nowhere. If you're running, I expect you to run to win. And so he said, we're going to build like a professionalized campaign. It's going to be the real deal. Like, here's what I'm thinking. And I said, all right, I'm in. Like, to me, it's like, if you get me on board, I'm in your corner. And he's somebody who, in my dealings with him, his first instinct is what's right. And then he works to figure out the political ways to make it happen. Right.
That's right.
It's really rare to find people like that. And so I was co-hosting phone banks for him. And then I went there the last week of the election. Wow. So I actually got to like door knock, and I literally went to all 5 boroughs. I mean, it was chaos and it was really hot, but it was worth it. Right. And what you said about talking to people, what you said about mobilizing people, everyone knows him for his videos. But the thing is, they had 50,000 volunteers by the end of it. Again, New York is very compact, and I get that, but you don't just
50,000 volunteers anywhere is wonderful.
Correct. And you don't get that just from videos, and you can't manage that with just videos.
Correct.
Right? He used that as a tool, and he had the backing and the trust for people to say, I'm going to show up for you. And so, yeah, I mean, that's our relationship. And I think that what he did was the kind of stuff that we should all be working to do. And to be clear, no, you cannot be Zoran because there's one Zoran, right? You got to figure out what that looks like in your state for you.
Right.
Like, too many people are trying to do this, like, walk and talk. I made a joke. I was like, can any of you run and talk? No. So, like, you got to figure out what works for you and do that instead of trying to be someone who you will literally never be.
I completely agree. You know, before we bring this to a close, we always try to give nuggets into like other things that we're trying to do, what's going on. And, you know, I want to give you this floor to talk about sort of the atrocities that are going right now in the Middle East, and how there's a lot of misconceptions out there and misinformation about what's going on.
Yeah.
And just, you know, briefly talk about it, because I think, one, we want to And me, Kevin and I talk about this all the time. We want to make sure that we are doing this correctly in the right way.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, we look at our viewership. It's dedicated. We talk about Southern politics, but surprisingly, like our biggest viewer base is in California.
Yeah.
And then it's New York.
Yeah.
And then even internationally, we have people that are watching. Like I sit and look at the numbers from YouTube, and it shocks me to see London, South Africa. You know, we have like 5 subscribers in South Africa.
I love that.
Like,
Yeah.
but you know, again, my first time being introduced to the Muslim faith and culture is my best friend, Mihir Al-Nafadi, right?
Yeah.
In college, I would go chill in his room and take a nap in between classes. And I'm sleeping in his room, and I start hearing, and
the call to prayer,
around, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm searching for this, and I'm hearing this noise, and it's an alarm, and he runs in the room, and he grabs, you know, stuff, he lays
it's prayer mat,
and he's getting ready, and I'm like, bro, what's going on? And he's not talking to me. And I see him doing it, and I'm saying, oh, he's praying.
Yeah.
And then I sit and watch him go through it afterwards, like we talked about it. But like, you know, I was 19 at the time, unaware. I knew bits and pieces of it, but was not aware of, you know, I do this daily reminder. When you pray to the east, just like explaining this to me. And now I feel like that's the same misconception that people have about what's going on, you know, in this battle in the Middle East. And so just shed a little light on it. You know, we don't have to delve in deep because I think we're going to revisit it.
I mean,
bring you back on.
I mean, look, we can, you know, dissect the politics and the history. For my family, it's pretty basic. They lost everything. That's it. It's no fault of their own. They had, you know, they barely were keeping up with news about Europe. They were living a simple life. My grandfather was a farmer. My mom's on my dad's side, on my mom's side, like a businessman, right? He comes from a city called Al Khalil, or Hebron, as people know it. And it's become the microcosm of like all of this. When I went, I remember stepping foot in the older part of the city and going, this is Jim Crow in the South. Because there are streets that a Palestinian born there could not walk on simply because that person was not Jewish. And it's awful. It is awful to see state-sanctioned violence under the guise of religion, because as someone who's, you know, grew up with people calling you a terrorist and whatever, I know what it's like to have your faith like bastardized that way and taken that way. And I remember very clearly, like from my grandparents, my grandfather tells he lived in a village that no longer exists, been completely decimated and destroyed. But he would tell us, like, he grew up with Muslim and Jewish and Druze and Baha'i neighbors. Like, this is a piece of land that had religious diversity by virtue of its history, right? And I'm not to be like everyone was kumbaya, but the average everyday person, like even when I went, people would tell me, Christians and Muslims, they would tell me, they'd say, we all grew up together to the point that we didn't understand why we weren't going to the different religious practices because we thought they were ours. Right? Until you grew up and got older, you just assumed you all fast for Ramadan, or you just assumed that Christmas is a thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the kind of world my grandfather lived in. And so this is what we are seeing is nothing more than an escalation of what my grandfather experienced, right? The Nakba was when almost 1 million people were kicked out of their homes. You can talk about all the politics you want. He was physically shot at and never saw his home again, and 1 million people were displaced. What we're seeing today, frankly, is industrialized killing of people, right? And we knew this was, to be clear, I remember very clearly sharing documents, internal documents that were leaked of where we were going, which is they were going to put Gazans into 3 even tinier enclaves. It's already a small strip of land to begin with, and kind of just hold them there and just take over the rest. And that's what's happening. Everything is now rubble. The Knesset just voted to essentially begin the invasion. Gaza City is now being bombed again. And I think that a lot of times we keep thinking this is complicated. And I'm sorry, but it just isn't. It just isn't. And I understand why people, and there's a faith component to this, right? There are religious folks on the Christian side who genuinely believe they have to do this to bring the second coming of Jesus. Like this is where I grew up as a cat. Like there were churches that would host APAC like once a quarter, right? And it was specifically APAC. Like I remember seeing the sign driving to my high school. But there's a belief there. And to me, it's like, I don't understand. This doesn't seem right to me, right? And I don't want to, debate theology, but I think maybe people need to revisit how they're reading that.
Well, the one thing I will say, there's that issue, and there's just so many other ones. And I definitely consider myself to be a person of faith. I talk to God multiple times, right, a day, and sometimes I will hear people say things in God's name, and I'm just like, He's never said that to me. Yeah. So I don't know what conversations y'all have. Yeah. I didn't talk to me every day. I never said
I'm not a part of that. Yeah.
To do that, but okay. Yeah. So I get you.
Yeah. To me, it's like you will never have peace if everyone is not safe. That's just the reality.
Yeah. It never ends.
Undergirds everything I always do.
Yeah. And you talked about this, earlier in the show, just the similarities, right, between civil rights and the atrocities that we're seeing, right? But so much of that piece right there in particular that you just said, like, there's no peace for anyone unless we all have it, right? A lot of that is so rooted in civil rights.
When I was in the West Bank and Jerusalem in particular, the cameras they had that were surveilling the Palestinians are the ones we use in Atlanta. Our cops train with the IDF through the Gilead program.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were there?
2019 was the one and only time.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd be. Remember when they asked Zoran where would you go, and they got mad at him for not saying Israel, and I was just like, I don't know if he'd be allowed in. I actually genuinely mean I don't know if I would be allowed in.
Right.
I don't know if I'd be safe, because when I was there, if they profiled me as white and a convert, IDF soldiers left me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But if they correctly profiled me as Arab, they only spoke to me with a rifle pointed at my heart.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other in between. You really I actually felt like I experienced sort of the both sides and saw the extremes of the differences.
But, yeah.
Well, this is, definitely a subject that we will revisit, right? And definitely appreciate you coming on the show. So I think as we close out all our shows, it's with the Mamba Mentality Award, right? And the Mamba Mentality is made up of 5 pillars, right? You have passion, resilience, obsession, relentlessness, fearlessness, right? Those are the pillars of Koba's Mamba Mentality. And I've kind of reserved mine for this moment. I want to give it to you. It's going to you. I mean,
thank you.
It's based on people who exemplified those characteristics and your passion to your community, your relentless work as an organizer, your resilience and steadfastness in breaking barriers, entering the legislature. You exhibit the coolness of a Mamba mentality. Right?
Deeply honored. Thank you.
In the short time I've known you, the many conversations, our side text conversations, right? And as I start to really try to get back entrenched in this field, right? I look at you and I say, wow, right? And again, I see it again today. So the award, I don't know, Kevin.
Thank you.
No,
oh my God.
I told you, you exemplify it, and you are one of those people, and I mean this in the very best way, but you're one of those people that makes you wonder, damn, am I doing enough? Can I do more? I should do more. But I thought I was out here hustling and kind of doing things, but then you meet people like you, and it's well, shit, maybe I need to step up a little bit.
Wow.
So
no, thank you.
We need it. We need it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, as 2 guys who have been in this industry, right? We look at someone like you and we're saying, they understand it, they get it. And we wish more people that we work with could have that same attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean,
me too.
So really appreciate
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. Thank you. That was really sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are part of the Maroon Bison family.
Yes.
Thank you.
Call it a Tyson.
Wow.
We call it a Tyson. Yes.
Wow.
We did come up with that.
I love it.
Morehouse Tigers.
Yeah.
Tyson.
Yeah. We got to get some little mascot made or something. Give it out to everybody. Yeah. We got to get some. Yeah. We're working on it. We're working on it.
Now the wheels are
or a little water bottle.
Yeah, or something, right? We're working on it. We're
getting there. We're getting there.
I look forward to it.
Listen, we are, I don't know, somebody asked, when is this season? How are you going to do seasons? I think we're trying to make it to 100, right?
I want to, definitely 100, and definitely get to the end of the year without missing a week. And I think that would about we did the math at one point. I don't know if that's quite 100, but that's my goal.
Yeah. I love that. That's really
No, I mean, it would be short of 100 because we started in January.
Yeah.
So we're probably like 90.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
You should record some special episodes. That'll be fun. Like random little tidbits. I would count those as an episode for you.
Yes, so there's that, and then we're excited about next year too. So a lot of the elections are unfolding, and the Virginia, New Jersey elections will probably do some of this too.
Those are
And then again, we're talking about doing some live stuff, right?
Nice.
As results come in.
Cool.
So I mean, it's building, it's growing, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. We really appreciate you joining. Remember, like, subscribe, join, spread the word. We are at Maroon Bison on our YouTube channel. We are saying Maroon Bison on all our social media handles. Just keep a lookout for us. And where can they find you?
Y'all can find me at Ruwa, RUWA, the number 4 Georgia. That's my handle everywhere. And just add a .com for our website. And if you want to hear all the yapping, it's at like my full name. Those are the handles for the fun commentary.
Really appreciate it, Representative, so much. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on another time.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.